Hello, NAPO community. I'm your president, Mindy Gotting. I'm here again for my presence message, and I'm really excited about our topic today. There are a lot of changes, as I keep mentioning, that are going on behind the scene. You have a leadership team that's very forward thinking and is really trying to make great decisions that are going to improve the future of NAPO and serve our entire community. So I have invited one of my board colleagues to join us today. We have with us Sarah Ginrich from the Dallas area. Welcome, Sarah, to the video.
Well, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk about what we're going to talk about today.
I know Sarah and I were just trading notes, so we both have had kind of a rough day. So you all are just going to have to roll with us. We're going to do our best to get the information out there. So I asked Sarah to be with us today because Sarah is spearheading a really important and vital task team in NAPO right now that is the Chapter Initiative Task Team. So we're going to talk all about that. But before we do, Sarah, I just wanted to give you an opportunity for those members who might not know you. Tell us a little bit about your business and your journey with NAPO.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mindy. I am out of the northern suburbs of Dallas. I'm in Allen, Texas, and I've been in business for 13 years now. And I joined NAPO when I first started my business and joined the NAPO DFW chapter. And about the, second or third meeting, they asked me to join the board and be their communications and technology person. And I was like, I'm not very technical. I don't think I can do that. And they said, oh, we think you can. And from that experience, I figured out that I am way more technical than I thought. And I took my business in a different direction. So through that, then I, joined national leadership by being the membership chair. And then I became a board member a few years ago. This is my third year on the board. And I work with the chapter relations community. And I also am over the chapter initiative.
That's really cool. I don't think I knew that about you, actually. I love those kind of stories, and I do hear them from time to time, and it certainly is true with me as well, where you get involved as a volunteer expecting that you're, just kind of going to serve and you want to give back and you want exposure to other colleagues, but then you gain skills and insight that you can then take back to your own business. And to hear that it changed your trajectory in your business is really cool.
Thanks. I think it's kind of cool too. I'm glad that I found my little niche that way.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the chapter initiative. So give us a little background on the chapter initiative. What do we need to know before we start talking about the details?
So I think the highlights of this are, we started 4 years ago, before I was even on the board. The board at the time decided that one of the strategic initiatives they wanted to work on was to explore the structure of the chapters, because they knew that there were going to be some new and better ways to educate leadership and members on a local level. And so they were really looking to bring that volunteer experience and that membership experience together with national. And so to begin, Nadine Levy and Janet Schizel, they surveyed all of the chapter presidents and found that networking, professional development, and referrals were really the top benefits of being a chapter member. And so they really wanted to highlight that, but they really kind of didn't know how to go about that because the chapters were so structured so rigidly with administrative type duties. And so in 2021, we continued our discussion through chapter leadership forum and presidential calls to see how could we streamline things. And as a result of all of that, we did streamline some functions and we made a few things, some small changes, easier. But we knew that it really needed some big changes to make it work and to hit that strategic initiative that the board really was seeking. And so the question was, how do we implement this? And how do we do this? And why it's so challenging because it touches every part of a chapter and every part of our headquarters and our back end. And so in 2023, we formed a task force to figure out how to make this work. And so 8 NAPO leaders got together and we started going through the details of how this would happen. and what processes we needed. And that really put us through to like end of 2023. We started transitioning over to trial chapters. The San Francisco Bay Area chapter and the Austin chapter put their name in the hat and said, hey, we want to be a part of this new and upcoming initiative.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And I just wanted to clarify, because the group of leaders that formed the task team, I assume all of you were involved in chapters yourselves, right?
At some point, yes. We have a couple of past NAPO presidents. We also have past CRC leaders in there, as well as board members, and a chapter president. I was also sitting in that task force because we thought that was important that we had somebody that was currently serving as a president on there.
I love all the different perspectives. That's when the magic happens, when you have those kind of conversations.
Yeah.
NAPO. Yeah. Okay, so what are the benefits of this new model that we're rolling out?
So there's so many benefits, and that's really what we were looking at, is like what really is going to make the biggest bang for the chapters and the leaders there. And so the biggest thing is less work and time associated with being a chapter leader. We wanted to make volunteering easier. And so we looked at support and the administrative functions of the chapter, and we talked to our HQ team to see what was possible. And so what we really did is we centralized and streamlined a lot of the accounting, a lot of the membership and administrative functions to make those easier. And also we made it to where their website is managed by HQ. And so all of those things like maintaining your own website and hosting and all that was taken away. And we also really worked on membership and renewal process, because one of the major things that we've discovered in speaking to people that are chapter members are, why can't I pay my dues all at once for both my chapter and my national membership? And so we've streamlined that to make that possible for chapters that are in the new model. And we also streamlined the whole CEU certificate process for education. And so chapters don't really have to manage that process anymore. It's totally managed through HQ, as their events will be as well. So, bottom line is increased volunteer bandwidth, and it helps chapter growth and enrichment, because then they can focus on things like the people and networking and education and community service.
I love that, because everything you're saying, and I'm glad that you're mentioning, like, the intentions are to streamline processes, to lighten the load on our volunteer leaders, to help our chapters focus on activities that truly enrich the member experience. For someone who might initially hear the goal of bringing things together in a more concrete way, it's like, I'm worried that NAPO is trying to take control over the chapters or take over. And that's not what's happening at all. It sounds like what you're doing is really bringing all these processes in-house so that the chapters don't have to worry about some of this administrative, back of house stuff.
That's right. So I think as Amy Olson was visiting with the Minnesota chapter, and one of the Minnesota members said, "Oh, this is awesome. You're taking us out of the administrative business and putting us more in the people business," which is really where we want to be. And I just love that quote and I don't even know who said it. I just know it was somebody in Minnesota, which is terrible.
Okay. So and I'm sure a rollout like this is not a small, insignificant thing. And I know firsthand how hard you have been working behind the scenes on this initiative. So how has the transition to the new model been going?
Well, honestly, some of it has moved a little bit slower than we anticipated, but we knew going into it, we know we don't have all the I's dotted and all the T's crossed, and that we're going to learn a little bit through this process. So to be fair, the people that have been working on it have been working really hard on both ends, on the chapter side and on, the task force side. But so San Francisco, in a nutshell, is almost done. Their new model website should be up by this week. Their old website should be pointing towards that site. So we feel really good about that. And after that's done, their accounting transition will go really smoothly and should happen, I'm thinking, within the next week. They should be done, in essence. And then the Austin chapter is right behind them. new website is pretty close to being finished. There's just a few little tweaks and changes. So I'm thinking they should be done probably by mid-March, along with the virtual chapter on that end. So that's really good news. And so then we're going to start LA right after that.
Okay. And I'm assuming that it's going to get a little bit faster and a little bit more efficient and easier the more chapters we add. So, why can't we transition all the chapters in 2024 for someone who's really excited, but their chapter isn't on the immediate list?
Well, that's, we do get that question a lot. Why can't we just jump in and do it? Well, because we have budget constraints, we have staff time constraints, and the cadence of work needed to be done by the chapters. There's just a lot of follow up and a lot of things that go back and forth that we need to make sure that we do have all of that, those I's dotted and those T's crossed to make those chapters transition easier. So that's why we're not doing them all in 2024. We have a few more this year, and then in the, I'm going to say late summer, we'll figure out which chapters we're going to do later in the year. Later in 2024 and 2025.
So who is on the list for moving over this year?
South Florida. So LA is now, we're just beginning with the LA chapter, and then we'll start on South Florida in June after we transition our new boards, because our chapter new boards start in the mid-May. So we didn't want to mess with that, with May. So South Florida is in the June, July timeframe, and then Dallas is right after that in July and August.
Nice. Okay, great. So I wanted to really put a pin in something that you did mention earlier, but I know it's the forefront of a lot of our conversations right now that are happening with volunteer leaders, that the chapters really do struggle immensely with finding and developing new chapter leaders. In fact, the chapters that have closed recently, I would argue that that's probably the number one factor, is that they can't fill their board seats. So how will this new chapter model help that issue?
So what we believe is going to happen is that the new chapter model will have to help the chapters recruit more leaders by streamlining some of those time-consuming processes, like I talked about: accounting, membership, administrative. And that means that volunteering is easier, right? Because it's less time-consuming. And it really does allow the chapters to focus more on their members and their pipeline, and less on all of those time-consuming things that most of us, frankly, don't enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I'm just thinking about, if you strip away a lot of the administrative duties of your average chapter volunteer leader, you just leave room for creativity and problem solving and, really digging in with the membership and figuring out how to make the member experience more dynamic. I think that this is a big win, just to get rid of some of these kind of rote procedures that we've always done it this way. And that, it doesn't have to be that way any longer.
And I think it'll just get better and better over time, right? Once we get these chapters transitioned, we'll see some other, streamlining that we can do to make it easier and quicker and faster for everybody. So I think it'll be great.
That's amazing. I'm so excited about this initiative. And as you mentioned, because I'm a little long on the tooth on my board service, I was in the room during the strategic planning meeting years ago when we first identified that this was a target issue that we wanted to focus on and that we felt was a problem we wanted to solve. So I'm super excited and impressed with all the chapter initiative team's work. Because I know this has not been a small undertaking. I mean, people were panicked when we back in 2019 when we were talking about what do you mean change the chapter model in the boardroom? So congratulations and thank you on a job well done. I know that it's still in process, but we're going to get there. So anything else that we haven't mentioned that I didn't set you up for with my questions that you want to mention before we close the conversation today, Sarah?
I can't, the one thing I want to say is that overall, the support that we have received from our headquarters staff and our Ewald staff and our to try to back this up and make this work. Everybody really has been all hands on deck, and it has made it go so much easier than it could have been. We just really appreciate the support. So
Nice.
that's the
And
one
I'm
thing I
going
want to say.
to
Yeah.
add that we really appreciate, the chapter leaders being willing and open to roll with this and to help us problem solve when we do hit a glitch, right? We know the change isn't always easy, and we know where we want to go, but getting there can be bumpy and rocky. And so I appreciate the volunteer chapter leaders stepping forward and saying, you know what, yeah, and just hanging in there, because ultimately when we get where we want to be going, it's going to be a successful and much more positive experience for everybody.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, because you're right. I mean, we really couldn't do this without those chapter leaders being willing to step up and go through these changes.
Yeah. Well, NAPO's engine is its volunteers. And this organization would not be what it is without our amazingly talented and dynamic members getting involved, getting engaged, stepping forward, acting as leaders. So we have a ton to be thankful for just within our ranks. I'm constantly impressed with the colleagues that step forward and I get to be exposed with just through my volunteer work. And Sarah, you're one of those people that just always impresses me with your smarts and your determination and creativity. So thank you for coming on the, show, I guess it is, to talk
Well,
about.
thank you for having me.
Yeah, I think this is an important issue that I know a lot of people have been like talking about, and wanted to make sure that we got the word out there and answered people's questions. So if anybody were to have any other questions about the chapter initiative, where should they go?
Probably the best place to come is to me at this point. We have so many things documented that um, it's pretty easy for us to find the information that they're looking for, or to answer their question really easily. So, and if I can't, then I will go to Gina and have her answer it for us. So.
Okay. So we'll make sure that your email is included in the graphics here. And again, thank you for your time, and thank you for all the work that you're doing with this really important initiative.
Thank you, Mindy.